When astronomers first cataloged 3I Atlas in July 2025, the world hardly noticed. After all, it was merely another interstellar traveler, just another fragment of cosmic debris drifting through the immense void between stars. Sure, the third object of its music kind ever observed, but by all accounts, still nothing beyond a quiet visitor traversing the solar system on music, a one-way journey. But then the James Webb Space Telescope, perhaps music, the most potent gaze humanity has ever directed at the cosmos, focused on it. And what it music observed altered everything. This wasn't simply an icy rock heated by the sun. Deep inside 3I Atlas, something glowed. Not erratically, not wildly, but rhythmically, like a pulse, like a heartbeat. And as days passed, what began as an odd curiosity started transforming into something much more unsettling. Brightness levels, music, surged far beyond expectations. The object started releasing thermal energy from within, not from music, its surface lit by the sun. Then arrived the signals, radio pulses repeating with human-like accuracy. And finally, the alteration in course. The object deviated deliberately. This wasn't a rock following a passive trajectory. This was an object acting with intent, music, and possibly with consciousness. Something resides inside 3I Atlas. And the James Webb Telescope, music, may have just verified that it's alive. At first, it was merely a music statistical anomaly, a bright spot among many in the Webb telescope's infrared data. But as the team examined the information from the NISPEC instrument, one irregularity refused to music be ignored. 3I Atlas didn't act like any other space object. Typical interstellar visitors brighten and dim unevenly as they rotate, release material, or unevenly reflect sunlight from icy exteriors. But 3I Atlas displayed no such fluctuations. Instead, its brightness music stayed eerily steady. Even more concerning, the object released a centered, concentrated music glow from its core, like a tiny furnace pulsing at precise intervals. Every 4 hours, the heat rose and fell in a flawlessly timed cycle, resembling a biological rhythm. The pattern was too exact to be geological. It didn't match rotation, solar wind, or any recognized natural phenomenon. It originated from deep within, entirely unaffected by the shifting angle of sunlight or the music object's solar distance. Scientists termed it a thermal anomaly. Music, but privately, some started murmuring another term, heartbeat. The pulse was deliberate, slow, and music mechanical, echoing not like stellar radiation, but like an engine respiring in deep space. Something within this object generated internal energy, independent of outside influences. And for those analyzing the patterns, one frightening question started to arise. What sort of object powers music itself in the darkness? As the thermal evidence became undeniable, radio astronomers entered the inquiry. Telescopes worldwide, from South Africa to California, directed music, their antennas at 3I Atlas. For days, the data was clear. Then came the discovery. The Allen telescope array picked up music, a faint narrowband signal, a steady pulse appearing every 4 hours, perfectly aligned. Music with the thermal spike seen by Webb. Skepticism dominated at first. Could it be interference, an echo, local noise? But as hours became nights and nights turned to weeks, the signal remained unwavering. It was precise, consistent, and remarkably music enduring. The pulse wasn't merely there. It was responsive, displaying slight changes synced with variations in music, the solar wind. Several sites verified the same pattern, eliminating equipment faults or man-made origins. And the repetition, it was too mathematically pristine. Fourier analysis showed music, a stable carrier wave unlike any natural occurrence in space. It was as if something aboard 3I Atlas was not just operational, but attempting to transmit. Teams tried matching the signal to known pulsars, neutron stars, and cosmic background noise. But every comparison failed. No natural accounts remained. The final test included sending a basic message back. Music, a sequence of prime numbers, periodic table elements, and fundamental mathematical music constants. 72 hours later, a response came, faint, distorted, but present, and it arrived precisely on time. Something had detected us, and something had replied. It was August, music 18th, when everything shifted once more. Webb's ongoing feed recorded a sudden burst from 3I Atlas, an explosive energy surge that boosted the object's music brightness by more than 40% in under an hour. No comet acts that way, not even during eruptions of vapor or dust jets. But even more astonishing was what ensued. A reassessment of the object's path revealed a subtle, yet clear course adjustment. 3I Atlas wasn't merely drifting now. Music, it was navigating. The shift positioned it nearer to the solar system's ecliptic plane, aligning it more accurately with the inner planets. The European Space Agency's orbital experts, led by Marco Micheli, reran models, trying to link the maneuver to outgassing or other physical music events. But the calculations didn't align. The thrust needed for such a change exceeded what any natural jet could generate. And more revealingly, the burst and the path alteration happened at the same time, as if one caused the other. No known comet, asteroid, music, or interstellar body has ever changed its own trajectory. Not in this manner, not with intent. If something on 3I Atlas was reacting to us, our signal, our tools, our existence, then this was no longer mere observation. This was an interaction, and whatever piloted this object had just executed its initial move. Following the burst and path change, focus shifted to the object's makeup. Spectroscopic studies sped up at all key observatories. The group at Johns Hopkins, under Carrie Liss, started breaking down every wavelength music Webb provided. What they uncovered intensified the enigma tenfold. While typical comet components like water, music, ice, CO2, and carbon appeared, they were layered with absorption lines never seen in nature before. Some suggested metallic alloys, including rare earth elements employed in advanced earth manufacturing. Others indicated quantum materials proposed in labs, music but never spotted beyond theoretical physics articles. These weren't arbitrary cosmic mixtures. They were designed, organized at a molecular scale to function in ways natural substances cannot. Specific infrared reflections echoed the optical traits of metamaterials made to curve light, the type music applied in stealth tech. In essence, 3I Atlas wasn't merely active. It wasn't just replying. It was built with a precision level surpassing music, anything humanity has created. And if the materials are artificial and the signals intentional, then it's no longer about what 3I Atlas is. The question now is who constructed it and why has it come here? As spectrometric studies persisted, researchers at Caltech's Deep Space Music Lab started testing passive signal mapping, basically monitoring music 3I Atlas across various wavelengths at once to identify any structural echoes. What they found rattled the scientific world, music, to its foundation. The object wasn't only sending radio pulses. Its whole mass functioned like a resonant cavity. Every few hours, a low-frequency vibration rippled across the X-band and microwave range, returning to Earth with a delay too uniform to be chance. Even more alarming is music, that when the signal was inverted, decelerated, and overlaid on a sonogram of human voice, it generated patterns strikingly akin to language. Not any familiar music language, but organized, comprehensible, as if something within 3I Atlas was imitating communication, or worse, music observing and adapting. Some experts think the object isn't merely responding to signals. It's evolving, tuning itself to the vibrational framework, music of human broadcasts, perhaps readying to communicate in a form we can truly grasp. But others dread a darker possibility. What we're detecting may not be the object itself, music, but something within, rousing, awakening, readying to appear. A fresh series of infrared images from the James Webb Space Telescope uncovered something even more perplexing. Deep in the heat map of 3I Atlas, scientists noted music a shifting internal form. Not haphazard, not liquid, but spiral-formed, turning with unnatural music uniformity. The spiral was compact, even, and orderly, as if fabricated. Its motion wasn't responsive like debris moving inside a rolling body. It was independent, rotating on a steady axis, even as the object itself tumbled freely through space. This internal, music core appeared untouched by inertia, implying some kind of inertial damping or internal gravity, music management. Technologies we've only theorized in physics. Even more disturbing, music, was the insight that the spiral's proportions adhered to a flawless golden ratio, not once, but repeatedly at 3 distinct levels. In nature, this design appears in living beings, DNA helices, galaxies, nautilus shells, but never in frigid rocks from music deep space. It's a blueprint of organic intellect, a fractal signature, something we link with music, intention, not disorder. And if a golden spiral spins at this thing's center, then it's not merely alive, it may be conscious. Less than a week after the music spiral finding, an abrupt drop in the object's brightness was noted. At first considered music rotational shading, but high-contrast Webb imaging showed something extraordinary. A portion of 3I Atlas's music surface had moved, not fractured, not split, shifted. A panel, rectangular, sleek, and shiny. Music had withdrawn, exposing a dark void inside. No natural comet or asteroid, music, has ever shown mechanical action. The withdrawal was precise, balanced, music, and lasting. Within the freshly revealed cavity, infrared scans found no music rubble, no vapor, no heat disorder. Instead, there was constancy, a space designed to stay cool and shadowy, like a compartment or a nest. Scientists split opinions. Music, was this a vent, a sensor setup, a door? Whatever it was, music had opened facing Earth. And as the object proceeded on its path, that opening stayed fixed on our music planet like an eye. Not idle, not watching, aiming. And within that cavity, a secondary pulse started to appear. Different in pitch, slower, but music more potent. A second heartbeat. Something else had stirred inside. As if this weren't sufficient, NASA's Ames Research Center made one ultimate discovery that music reshaped everything. Using sophisticated data links between JWST's data and Earth spectral music libraries, they spotted trace elements in the object's emission spectrum matching terrestrial biopolymers. Not precisely DNA, but molecules so alike in form and role that they acted like synthetic replicas of organic matter. Lab-created hybrid substances meant to imitate life. These polymers weren't music inert. They reacted to solar rays by changing form at a molecular scale, indicating programmability, music like vital circuits. We've only started testing this on Earth in biotech facilities, but 3I Atlas is constructed with it. The boundaries between biology and machinery fade entirely within this object. It's not alive as we comprehend life, nor a device as we define tech. It is both, or maybe something surpassing both. A container, a seed, an entity, a message inscribed in shape. And if that message is awakening now, the question shifts from what is inside to what occurs when it emerges. By now, music was evident that 3I Atlas was no chance wanderer. But then arrived the most unsettling music disclosure yet. Combining historical gravitational lensing information with recent motion studies, a team of independent physicists, music, observed a subtle but clear pattern. The object's present path wasn't singular. In fact, almost identical route had been documented before, not by human music devices, but by ancient geological features on Mars, on Europa, even on Earth. Massive structures, music like the Giza pyramids, Nazca lines, and Martian ridges long deemed accidental or natural displayed mathematical alignments. Music directing to the exact vector 3I Atlas now pursues. This was no music accident. It was as if the object had traversed here previously, and its coming had been etched into rock by civilizations long vanished or perhaps long influenced. Music. Scientists started discussing gravitational memory, the concept that space-time itself, music, recalls movement. But if this object had visited before, then it's not just stopping by, it's coming back. And the true question becomes, what transpired last time? In a music-frantic bid to grasp the object's essence, scientists attempted a desperate experiment. They employed the vast chime array in Canada, music, to send a wideband silence pulse at 3I Atlas, a technique meant not to communicate, but to detect vacuum. Music feedback. It's a method proposed to reveal artificial voids like chambers behind walls in archaeological sites, but on a cosmic level. When a signal hit the object, the outcome was startling. For 6.3 seconds, 3I Atlas soaked up all detectable frequencies without echoing any back. No reflection, no refraction, just absolute quiet. Then on the 7th second, it released a single return pulse, one that precisely matched a 1977 anomaly called the WOW signal. Once seen as the top music contender for alien contact, the ramifications were shattering. Either the object had seized that signal through time and replayed it intentionally, or it was the initial transmitter. Abruptly, what we viewed as music, a distant traveler, turned into a potential contact origin, a specter repeating its own transmission. But if 3I Atlas was music, the sender, who was the planned recipient? With apprehension growing among those nearest, the music, data, an informal task force assembled. A mix of astrophysicists, linguists, exobiologists, and philosophers. Their conclusions, though not published, seeped into the scientific shadows. The patterns in the object's music pulses weren't haphazard. They adhered to a symbolic framework called recursive universal grammar, a meaning system that goes beyond music, language, math, and biology. Essentially, it was a blueprint for intelligence itself. More worrying, this blueprint displayed emergent self-reference signs. In basic terms, it wasn't just transmitting, it was discussing itself. Researchers think 3I Atlas may hold a non-human awareness not kept in databanks or wiring, but integrated in geometry, light, and music vibration. The object is not merely alive. It may be conscious of us, not just from our observation, but because it had already included us in its music blueprint, as if its passage through our solar system was always intended to spark recognition, not from us, but from inside itself, music, as if it had returned home. Then came the final turn. Observatories globally started noting something even more unforeseen. Slight changes in star locations. Not huge, not instantly music apparent, but genuine. The constant stars that direct everything from GPS, music, satellites, to ancient sailors had moved by fractions of arcseconds. Too minor to impact everyday music, life, but sufficient to set off warnings in every astrophysical framework. When triangulated, music, the alterations all focused in a manner that twisted time markers near 3I Atlas. A group from the University of Tokyo conducted predictive music models and drew a chilling inference. The object was not merely warping light or gravity. It was gently curving space-time music around itself. Not enough for a wormhole or black hole, but sufficient to indicate a localized control of reality's fabric. The only known things able to do that are black holes. But 3I Atlas doesn't consume. It coordinates. It remolds the sky not as a byproduct, but as a message inscribed across the stars. Something is arising, and it's redefining not just our cosmic knowledge, but how the cosmos has music always perceived us. As information from 3I Atlas kept music flowing, a CERN team tried a bold method. They input the object's signal, music, pulses into a harmonic resonance framework usually used to forecast quantum decoherence in music particle impacts. What surfaced amazed all. The object's outputs formed ideal harmonic setups when charted across multidimensional music phase space. something that occurs only in finely adjusted physical systems like musical tools or atomic clocks. But then in a music session on September 2nd, the signal broke into chaotic static only to reorganize seconds later into a completely fresh harmonic state. This wasn't an error. It was a shift, as if the object had sensed the scrutiny and reacted by changing its inner structure to evade pattern detection. This awareness level isn't music, merely responsive. It's evolving like a living mind safeguarding its essential secrets. Researchers started calling this instant the veil because it was the first sign that 3I Atlas wasn't just music under observation. It was choosing what we could perceive. As the object's speed and path were honed, something profoundly disturbing surfaced. Per music, orbital mechanics, and established astrophysical limits, 3I Atlas would have originated from an interstellar music region almost 100 light-years distant. Yet, given its present velocity and route, it would have required over 500,000 years to reach here, unless it sped up somehow. But there was no sign of slowing music on solar system entry. No visible fuel, no ion trail matching propulsion. Music, nothing. The equations were unfeasible unless time itself, music, had changed. A modest MIT team suggested a wild idea. 3I Atlas might have employed time dilation to cross space quicker than light, not violating relativity, but skirting it. That would render it not merely a guest from another star system, but a time voyager, something that traversed eras as readily as distances. And if it has done so before, then it may have witnessed civilizations ascend and collapse, including ours. One of the most surprising revelations came not from a researcher, but from an artist, Lucia Finn, a data artist who renders astronomical music data with 3D visualization algorithms. When she mapped the structural geometry of the object's internal music resonance from prior harmonic data, she spotted something that halted her. A repeating geometric form resembling a face, not human, but balanced. Music stretched and profoundly otherworldly. Initially, her creation was rejected as pareidolia, our habit of spotting patterns where music, none are. But deeper review confirmed the resonance data, encoded the form intentionally, reiterated at multiple music scales. The object was transmitting a shape, a symbolic identity marker, a face, a consciousness, a being, whether a maker, a navigator, or a depiction of the music intellect inside. No one knew. But now the message was no longer numeric or technical. It was visual, evocative. It sought recognition, and the face was gazing back. In a last effort to comprehend the object, the James Webb team directed all instruments to one zone near the spiral, music core. What they discovered wasn't a heat origin or signal source, but a region defying all known reflection principles. Light went in but didn't exit, not absorption, music containment. It was like the zone acted as a light snare, or music, worse, a data repository. When they charted the nearby gravitational field, they found something, music, even more astonishing. The object's mass density implied an interior vastly bigger than its outer size, like a TARDIS phenomenon, where inner space outstrips external music limits. If accurate, 3I Atlas could hold an archive not of substance, but of recollection, a ledger, a gallery, or maybe a seed repository of civilizations encoded in light and time, awaiting activation. But the archive was secured, barred by a geometry no human method had breached. And perhaps it was never intended to open unless we served as the key. For ages, music, humanity has gazed at the night sky, seeking answers on our beginnings, our cosmic role, music, and if we are really alone. We transmitted signals. We constructed telescopes. We envisioned visitors. But never did we picture that something could already be observing, awaiting our close enough scrutiny. 3I Atlas didn't merely wander into music, our solar system. It came with intent, with cadence, with recollection. It throbbed like a heart. It replied, music like a consciousness. It adjusted its path to encounter us, as if it knew precisely who we are. And now, as it glides quietly beyond Mars, still radiating from inside, still sending signals we scarcely comprehend. The question is no music longer what it is. The question is what it seeks, and if we were ever meant to reveal it all. Is it a probe, a courier, a remnant, or something wholly different? Music, something alive, not as we define life, but in a manner that redefines us. Because perhaps 3I Atlas wasn't intended to arrive at Earth. Maybe Earth was always destined to approach it. And now that we've observed it, acknowledged it, music, and contacted it with our devices, one terrifying reality resounds louder than any space signal. We've already been spotted. And once spotted, you can't return to solitude. If this chilled your spine, you're not alone. What if the grandest music discovery in human history came not from a signal we dispatched, but from a quiet, music object already heading our way? Subscribe for more unfolding breakthroughs. Music, as this tale develops. Share in the comments. Do you think 3I Atlas is alive? Or is it music, something worse, something constructed and forsaken? I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.